can't say I've watched it that many times, but I have watched it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Dances with Wolves and Last of the Mohicans.
I haven't seen that.
You have not seen it?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow. I'm disappointed.
I'm
Folks, I'm disappointed. If you haven't seen
podcast is over.
I'm about ready to walk out.
It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Life is not easy. Life isn't fair. It never was, and it never will be. A good life takes grit, because the best things in life come from hard work, sacrifice, resolve, determination, and perseverance. Because grit means never quitting. It means coming back time and time again until you succeed. So on this show, we talk hunting, we talk outdoors, we talk conservation, we talk family and life. We talk fitness, and we talk strength of body, strength of mind, and strength of character. Prioritize who you are and who you want to be. Get gritty, because life isn't fair, and a little grit can make all the difference.
Figure out this camera one way or another.
Yes. Okay, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Talk to me,
Hear me?
Goose.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Roger.
Cool.
I was on the airplane coming back from Leopold this week, and last week with Jordan Harbison. We're flying back from Portland. We did a couple of visits while we were there. But on the way back, I'm on the airplane and I'm watching Top Gun.
Of course.
Dude, Top Gun. Of course. It's like my childhood.
Right?
Like in replay. Actually more like junior high school. And Jordan's watching it and he kind of he was like barely born, you know?
Well, how old is Jordan?
I think I'm 10 years older than Jordan.
Okay.
A little over 10 years. I got him by more than 10 years. So there's a generation gap there, a little bit. Not a huge one. But watching Top Gun, dude, it was just awesome. I haven't seen it in a while.
I probably haven't seen it in 15 years.
Oh, no. I watch it at least every other year, probably. Yeah. And as a kid, I watched it probably, every couple weeks.
See, my video of choice when I was a kid was Dances with Wolves.
I've seen that a lot too.
Oh, yeah. Like every day I'd come home from school, put it in, just watch it.
Really?
Oh, I probably have watched that 500 times. I don't know why.
No way.
Oh, easily.
I can't say I've watched it that many times, but I have watched it a lot. Mm-hmm. Dances with Wolves and Last of the Mohicans.
I haven't seen that.
You have not seen it?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow. I'm disappointed.
Folks,
I'm disappointed. If you haven't seen
podcast is over.
I'm about ready to walk out. For those listening, I am here with Jeff Lusky, my friend Jeff Lusky. And Jeff, you and I met, I don't know, was it 4 years ago at a Train to Hunt event? 3 years ago?
3 years ago, Train to Hunt in Washington. Yeah.
And that was when I met Ryan Lampers too.
Yeah.
AKA
me too.
Donnie Vincent Lampers.
Right. It was funny because you look at him and nobody knew who he was at that point.
Yeah.
And then he pulls up his Instagram and you're like, oh,
ooh,
this guy's legit.
Yeah.
You know?
There's some years of just, I mean, Ryan goes out and he hunts mature animals every year, and does it on public land often, most of the time. And a lot of that's out of Washington too, but he's not afraid to travel to different states either.
Yeah. I think over the last, I don't know how many years, but he seems to be figuring out that there's a lot of cool states that are offering giant deer that he can kill. Like Nevada, he's been there for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And he's killed some big bucks out of there. So
the first time I met him was at that Train to Hunt event. And for those that don't know, Ryan's been on the podcast before. Ryan Lampers, also known as Stealthy Hunter. Stealthy Hunter on Instagram, ST Healthy Hunter. And he is host or co-host of the...
I think Hill runs the podcast.
Yeah, his wife, Hillary Lampers, has been on the podcast as well. In fact, one of her episodes I did is one of our highest downloaded podcasts, which is like sex, testosterone. And gut health. She's just a wealth of information, and she and Ryan do the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. So for those that have been living under a rock and don't know all that stuff, there you go. And we met Ryan for the first time those years ago at that Train to Hunt event, and I was just following along with a camera and filming the event just to see it and take it in for the first time. And I was just kind of getting started with Gritty with a few podcasts here and there.
Yep.
And I was filming Ryan, and he's a real quiet dude.
He was very quiet back then.
Yeah.
He's come out of his shell, like...
Well, his wife has shoved him out.
Oh, yeah.
He has no shell to retreat to now.
Yeah.
No, he's come out. It's been awesome to see him share his knowledge and do what he does. But I watched him shoot that event, and what blew me away, first of all, he shot lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And, but Ryan will come to full draw, and I like to mock his shooting. Like, I have a little, impersonation I do, but he'll come to full draw and he'll anchor and he'll do this bounce like thing with his hand, with his settle.
Okay.
And then he'll stick the pin and shoot. And I'm like, dude, how did you, like, his shot release is so fast.
Yeah.
Like, he's
not thinking about it like the rest of us.
Well, and he doesn't just aim forever. He just pulls through. I mean, it's just over, and he's in the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good shot.
He's fast.
Yeah.
To be able to come to full draw like that, settle and shoot in those few seconds that he can do it in is, and he can sit and hold for a long time. But what I've seen, what surprises me is how quick a release he's got.
Yeah.
With maintaining all his accuracy.
Well, you know the 2 and 10 shot that Train to Hunt does, right?
Yes.
So this last year was...
So describe that to people that are listening.
So Train to Hunt has a shot where you have to shoot an arrow and then the clock starts. You have to load another arrow and get that shot off on another target within 10 seconds.
Just to follow up, like a simulate follow-up shot.
Oh, that wasn't a great shot. I need to get another arrow in it real quick.
Yep.
So I've done 3 Train to Hunts. This year was the first time I ever got it off in 10 seconds, but I missed the target. It was like I was throwing my pin down as fast as I could. It was like a 55-yard shot. Ryan does it in 8.
Yeah.
And he drills them. And it's just like, okay, I can't even load my bow that quick.
Yeah. I do it just at like 9, 10. Just I can get it in there and hit dead on just under that. That 10 seconds is magic.
Yeah.
Anything, getting it under in 7 or 8,
tough.
I need that extra 2 seconds to make a good shot. I could get the shot off.
Yeah.
No, Ryan's fast.
Yeah.
Which I talked to him once on a podcast about that, and he's like, did you practice that? Is that a skill you worked on acquiring, or was it natural? And he said he did. He actually prided himself and worked on being able to execute quickly, because he's like, in a real hunting scenario, especially I think if you're hunting thick country like Washington.
Yep.
That animal, you bump it, it jumps, boop, 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 stops. If you're at full draw and you can settle and shoot like him, think about all the opportunities you could capitalize on.
A lot.
But the math, man, like I'm busy going, that's 33 yards, use this pin.
Instincts.
Dude, Ryan just pulls, and it's like, he's so fast.
Yeah.
So it's not a skill I've got. When I shoot that fast, we are not shooting accurately in this camp.
Yes. That's my thing too. I mean, if you gave me 11 seconds, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
But that 10, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I always fumble with something, and I don't practice it probably as much as I should have prior to Train to Hunt. But I always just make the first shot count. And then that second arrow, I'm like, okay, if I can get it off, cool. If not, I'm not worried about it.
Well, one thing I've learned over the years, too, is everybody has different skills.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't behoove me to try to be Ryan Lampers.
I think we'd all fail if we tried to be Ryan Lampers.
Or Aaron Snyder or John Dudley or whatever, Cameron Haynes. Like, I ain't running no 240-mile marathon.
No.
So everybody has their skill set, right? You need to figure out what you're really good at and then continue to capitalize on that in your style.
Yeah.
You know, if calling elk isn't your thing, it's just not you. It doesn't click. But sneaking in on them does. Dude, that's you. Do you. And I've learned over the years trying to, I'm not saying don't learn new skills, like work on that, but definitely know your role.
Yeah, I think it's good to adapt to your strengths. And something we try to do back home for our job is like, what are my weaknesses?
Yeah.
And what are my strengths? My brother has different strengths than I do and vice versa. And it's like, why would I go do something that I don't think I'm good at when he can do it and be better?
Yeah.
And I can do something else. And then all of a sudden collaborate. We're a stronger team that way. Probably the same thing for hunting, you know, like I'm going to be spending a week in the woods with Ryan. I'm not going to try and find the biggest buck. Yeah. I'm going to let Ryan do that. And then when he says, I don't know, I'm going to go
He's
kill
only
it for
180.
him. Right.
It's
day 2. He's maybe 180. Okay.
Yeah. What would you say are a couple of your strengths? Like, where do you shine?
You know, I think over the years, I might not be the best at anything, but I feel like I'm really good at a lot of things, and I can pick up on stuff really quick. I might not be the best shot, but I'm a good shot. I might not be the best caller, but I'm a good caller. I feel like I have a wide variety, and I can pick up things fairly quick.
Like a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I would say that for me, I'm sneaky.
Yeah.
You know, I'm patient. So, you know, getting close is what I like, what I can do. You know, you give me an animal and give me time, I'll sneak up on it. Nice. I'll get close. Where I struggle is like Aaron Snyder and Ryan, they're both fast shooters.
Yep.
Like where I'm weak is if I'm walking through the woods and an elk like stands up in its bed and starts to bounce away and I come to full draw, getting a good shot off in that moment is not my strength.
So you need that extra couple seconds to just process the whole thing, or
I do so much better. The animal has no idea I'm there.
Yeah.
And I can just like, that's how I want it to be anyway. Like I feel robbed if I'm taking a quick shot and salvaging. Like part of what I love about bow hunting is me being the predator, a good predator, to where I get in range of an animal and it doesn't know I'm there.
Yeah.
And I'm able to get the shot. That's the most satisfying hunt right there is, you know, the animal had no idea. What I don't like is when I'm salvaging, it's running away, it sees me, it's freaking out. And now I'm like I feel like I wasn't the predator I wanted to be.
Well, it hurts more too, like in that situation, if a bull does jump out of its bed and you take a panic shot or a quick shot, and if it's not perfect, then it's like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Yeah.
You know, and then like on the flip side, if you've got this bull, he's 35 yards, doesn't know you're there, and you take a shot and maybe it's not the perfect shot that way, then it's like, okay, that's on me.
Yeah.
I didn't do a dumb decision, but that was just on me. So,
right. Yeah. Mentally, I get angry. Like if the stalk ends up where I get caught by the animal, I'm like, that ruins the moment. Even if I shoot the animal, it's still spotted me in that moment where I want to be that guy that doesn't get seen, you know. So
do you get angry if like the wind switches and they see you that way, or is it just more of like
I mean, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
I think I was just talking to some friends here the other day. Well, I was talking to you, and we're going to get into this, folks. You know, Jeff went on his first high country mule deer hunt last year.
I did.
And, you know, so for those of you that are interested in kind of coming out west and trying some high country mule deer hunt, Jeff has a unique perspective, having just done it for the first time last year. So I want to get into that. And you did a podcast with Ryan Lampers last year on Hunt Harvest Health. That was legit. It was episode 39.
36.
36. So episode 36. And you were talking about everything is new. The terrain is new. The location is new. The animal is new, right? Like all this stuff is pretty new with a bow and arrow in hand. And your buddy was like so worried about, just so nervous about blowing this opportunity where he got on this deer. And you were saying, he was like, he asked you to actually stand up.
There was multiple times too, like even on that stalk, like we went through a boulder field and, we'd get to a spot and we'd pretty much the entire stalk, we were within 150 yards, like from where it started. And he'd be like, can you go first? I don't want to step on the rock and screw it up. And I'm like, oh, so you want me to screw your tag up? Sure. And so I'll do it. So I'm a little bit more nimble on my feet than him. He's a big burly firefighter. So I just kind of tiptoe and I point out rocks that are good. And I say, hey, bad rock, good rock. And then we just made the stalk that way. And we did that back and forth too. He would go before me and he'd like, hey, don't step here. And it was cool. It was fun.
But you were saying like at some point, like he would ask you to go first or peek over a rise first, because just the anxiety of blowing that moment was just like heavy.
Yeah. He was nervous.
Yeah. And I think, I've been there before
mm-hmm.
and, we were talking about this and I think that when you can get past that and you're super aggressive, that's when you start killing animals.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of accept the fact that the wind might switch.
Yep.
And
you get to a certain point where if the wind switches, you're done either way.
Yeah.
If you're within a certain yardage, it doesn't matter if you're 100 or 30. Wind switches, you're done. I say this all the time. At some point with a bow and arrow in hand, you got to gamble. Yes.
You have to gamble. There's just no choice. And that's where a lot of guys, especially without a lot of experience, that's where they fail because they don't gamble. They play it safe. And and you cannot get the job done when you don't gamble.
Yeah.
There's that crossroad where it's like, okay, now's the time.
Yep.
And if you hesitate or you don't gamble, nothing happens.
Yep.
And you could easily see how you could just hang back because you don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
What you don't realize is your
clock's ticking.
Your clock's ticking. You are screwing it up. Like you got to risk it.
Yeah.
And I think after you blow out a whole bunch of animals, like I have,
I think we all have.
and it's like you get to the point where, okay, you know what? There's another one around the bend.
Yeah.
I'll have to find another one. I'll have to start over. So you're more bold, I think.
Well, it was like we talked about last night. If we could all hunt how we do in the last hour of our last day of a hunt, how many hunts come down to that? A ton. You know? And a lot of them are successful in that last hour. And I know Ryan's talked about it. He's like, I don't know what it is, but most of my hunts come down to that last day. And it's like, your mind does something where it's like, just be a little bit more aggressive. You have to, because this is it.
The sun is going down on the last day, and it doesn't look like this is stockable at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, the wind doesn't seem to cooperate, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, but it's my only option.
Yeah.
And you go for it as the sun's going down in a way you wouldn't go for it earlier in the week.
Yep.
And
our Nevada trip ended exactly that way. I don't know if you want me to go into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll just go to the last day here to start. And we glassed that morning, and we were supposed to take off that day. Excuse me. So we ended up finding some deer, and it was just a little buck, just a little 2-point fork and horn. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And I was like, we're going. Like, we're going to make this stock. And they were like, oh, ribeyes in Boise, this and that. And I'm like, we're going. So day 1 or 2, we would have walked around the entire mountain to where these deer never saw us. But I told Paul, I was like, hey, let's just bonsai it. They're a half mile, 3/4 of a mile away. We'll just bonsai this hill. Mm-hmm. We'll hit that saddle. We'll drop right on top of them. And that's what we did. We skirted the hillside. They were in sight the entire time. They had to have seen us. We were kind of in the shadow, but it was still like they had to see us at some point. But we skirted over, hit the saddle, climbed over, and got right on top of them. And it was like a 30-minute stalk versus the previous stalks that we made were hours long. So we just bonsai it over. We get up on top of them. We get to a point where we think that they're in bow range. And that's when Paul was like, I don't want to stand up. He's like, well, will you stand up for me and tell me where they're at? And I was like, well, why don't you be ready to draw? I'll have the camera out. I'll have the rangefinder. I'll stand up and hit a range on it. And from there, that's basically what happened. We stood up. I gave him his range. He came to full draw, made the perfect shot. I mean, he just pinwheeled this deer. And we could turn around and we're looking at our buddies, and they're dancing on the hillside. And they're singing, I don't remember what song, something about the Whip and Nay Nay song up there. So, yeah, it was so perfect how it worked out, and it was like aggressive. We stalked aggressively, and it worked. So,
yeah, I've hunted in Alberta a couple of times now, and it's just open plains, mule deer. It's the Badlands.
Yeah, I've seen some of the.
Yeah, and I just learned to be way more aggressive. And Aaron is aggressive to a degree that's too aggressive in certain situations. Like, I mean, but you have to know your strengths, right? Like I said earlier, Aaron's strength is being aggressive, like attack, goes straight at it, and it costs some opportunities, but it also
it kills a lot of stuff too.
It kills animals as well with the same tactic. So for me, I've adopted a lot. I'm way more aggressive than I used to be, but I'm also, in some of those last little bits, I'm very patient in getting that shot that I want. But after having spent more time hunting with someone as aggressive as Aaron, I've amped that up so much, and I go hardcore fast and get in there, and then kind of feel the rest of the way in and go a lot slower. But aggressiveness is I've talked about it on elk hunting too, like calling. It doesn't do you any good just to sound like some elk and be like, I'm over here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, you got to like enrage them. You got to piss them off. You got to be extreme.
Well, I think too, like, that's the bull I want to kill. I want to kill a bull that way. I don't want to kill a bull over a wallow, sitting in a tree stand or something like that. Like, people are like, oh, how much do you cow call? And I was like, not very much. But for me, like, I want that bull to be coming in and wanting to fight me. That's what I want. And I don't care if I could have killed it a different way. Maybe I could have smooth talked him in with some cow talk or something like that. But it's like, I want that hunt.
Yep.
And I'm okay if I miss an opportunity because I'm going to get that bull at some point.
Right. Yeah. That goes back to, the experience that you want to have. Building
100%
for that experience you want to have. So going to Nevada for the first time.
Yep.
Right. Okay, how many points did it take?
He had no points. That was his first year putting in.
Okay, so it was a draw unit, but he got it without points.
Yep.
Okay, and what type of caliber deer runs around in this unit?
I think a typical trophy quality buck in there, 160 to 180 for a good trophy quality buck. There's definitely bigger.
So that age class is right around 150, 160,
yeah,
140.
I think you can go in there, and I think if you put in a little bit of time, you could find a solid, mature 4-point that most guys are going to be happy with.
With a bow and arrow.
With a bow and arrow,
yeah.
Yes. So being Nevada, like the whole draw of a different state, you hear about monster Nevada bucks. So, as the three of us talked a bunch, it was just like, oh, we're going to make practice stalks on 150 bucks. Yeah. It was a joke all the way down there.
And you've never hunted out of state?
A little bit, but not any high country, not any mule deer like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as soon as you get to the mountains, like everything you see online, you're like, oh yeah, Google Earth, it looks kind of like this, it doesn't look huge. And then you get there and you look up and you're like, that's 4 miles to the top. Like, how are we going to get there? That's
huge country.
3,500 feet to gain.
Yep.
That's a half-day hike. So you get humbled real quick with that. I know there's some stuff in Google Earth you can switch around to make it more realistic for, steep and angles
it's
like that.
It's still hard to imagine unless you've done it a lot.
Once you see the country, you go back and you look at it and you're like, okay, now I know what I'm looking at. Yeah. So never being there, it was just kind of like, let's just go to some high country. Like, that's the hunt we want. Let's get up as high as we can and see what we can find. So we did, and we thought we could find water as well. Well, we quickly realized there's no water there. Like, it's dry. So you're dropping 2,000, 2,500 feet to get water, and then there's 1,000 bees on it. There's horse pee. There's horses drinking out of it. And you're like, let's just go drive to the store and buy 20 gallons, and we'll just refill as we need to. So we kind of did that the first couple days. I wouldn't say we wasted time, but we learned, like, there's a lot of stuff that you can do prior to the hunt that saves you those 2 days. Driving the entire unit, like, it's a unit that you can just drive around it. And we weren't looking for deer, but we were looking for country that we wanted to, climb into. Yeah. So look at it on a map. It all looks awesome. What you think you should hunt on a map and what you do want to hunt is different. And we learned that too, like, we're looking for these lush green basins, and sure, they have deer in it, but it might not be the deer you want because everybody's looking at those same basins. Mm-hmm. So we wasted a couple days driving around, learning it, getting water, kind of crossing our T's and dotting our I's, the stuff we should have done before. But once we did finally get up in there, we finally got into the high country. We're at 9,700 feet, I think. We started seeing deer, and we never saw the 170 bucks or the 180 bucks that we were hoping to see, but we saw 130s, 140s, 150 bucks, and it was like, okay, this is the hunt we have now. Like, right. This is now, none of us have killed a 150 buck at this point.
Right. Some of that, I always say this, like, I have a hard time shooting like a 300-inch bull if the unit is chock full of 380s. It's like, right. But if a 300-inch bull is like
common,
the biggest bull they've got in the unit, I'm stoked to shoot it. Right. And so part of it is actually managing, like hunting the unit for what it has to offer.
For sure.
And I'm not so interested in like antlers as much as I am age class.
Me too.
Like, I want to shoot the bull that has all the swagger.
Yep.
That has all the attitude. That's old. That's been there and done that. Right. Because it's fairly easy for me to kill the 2-point or the raghorn or the 4-point bull. They're just not that bright.
Well, you think about the 7-8-year-old, bucks or bulls. You think about how many wolves they've seen, cougars, coyotes, anything, like
humans.
Humans. Yeah. They've outsmarted everything up until that point. So if you can be the guy that kills a buck or a bull that's seen 7 years.
And frankly, after all the years of experience, the fitness that I've got, the gear that I've got, all that kind of stuff combined, it's not that hard to go out and kill a immature animal. And your hunt's over in a day or two.
Yeah.
Like, a young mule deer, they're kind of dumber than rocks. Like, I say, like, young mule deer are some of the dumbest and easiest animals to kill on the planet.
We've seen mule deer and, young bucks, and they'll see you and they walk to you.
Yep.
And it's like,
you're talking about a different developed brain.
Yeah.
Like, totally different than those mature animals.
Yep.
And so when I was earlier, when I didn't have a lot of experience, and this is it's the path of most hunters, you're excited to shoot anything.
I think it's good to do that too.
I do too. Yeah. And then fill that freezer. You experience the whole package, the whole gamut of that experience. And who cares? Like, but as you progress, you get to a point where, calling in a satellite bull that's around the herd bull becomes something you're annoyed by. Like, get out of here. Because you're trying to get the other bull in. And when you start that's because the hunt would be over too soon.
Yeah.
At the level that you're at, that's part of it. I can't explain it. It's not that for me, and I think a lot of people attribute it to wanting the praise of people, right? That go, whoa.
Social media,
or just whatever. Anyway, it's look at me, I shot this giant animal, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I think for the majority of well, I can't say, but I think there's far more hunters. This is my opinion. That has nothing to do with why they want to do it.
Yeah.
You'll meet guys that have giant animals in their garage, just antler after antler that nobody knows about.
Yep.
Because they're there for that experience of interacting with nature and outwitting the top of the food chain out there, the top of the survival chain or whatever. And so it's not for them. It isn't about like attention. It's about that experience. And for me, that's how I feel. That's why if it's a 300-inch bull in a unit that produces, like, I don't care. I don't need the inches to feel.
I don't like the whole inch counting personally.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we all do it just for like I guess it's easy to say, hey, I saw a 170 buck. Everybody kind of knows what a 170 buck looks like. Nobody goes out and says, oh, I saw a 6-year-old deer. Well, how big was it? I mean, Eric last year shot a buck that had to be pretty old, but he was regressed, and he was just this nasty, heavy antelope-looking buck. Mm-hmm. Coolest deer, like we watched this hillside, and we were looking at some 4 points, and we're like, yeah, they're just younger deer. And then we saw him, and he had that swagger, and we're like, okay, he's not the biggest buck, but that's the buck.
The oldest.
That's the buck we want to kill.
Yeah.
I mean, that was.
I agree. Like, that's what it is with blacktail hunting too. Like, there's a lot of blacktail that don't grow the biggest set of antlers.
Yeah.
But I found myself as I tracked them with game cameras and followed them in the woods and stuff, I found myself wanting to get that deer because he's the oldest, and he's got this scraggly, like, pathetic set of antlers. But to me, him himself is the pinnacle of a blacktail hunting, experience.
Yeah.
And so there were other bucks that were bigger, but far, far younger. And I think when you get to that stage, you're not hunting because of inches.
Yeah.
You're hunting because, like I said earlier, age class, there's something about, what it takes to kill a mature animal like that old blacktail buck is a whole different level of woodsmanship and stealthiness and grittiness and right. It takes a whole suite of skills and then a whole lot of luck.
Blacktail are like the most frustrating critters alive because that they're right there, and you might not ever see them. Every day. I mean, I've heard stories where guys go in and the buck's 50 yards from them. They just never move. And then come nightfall, they do their thing, like, especially an old mature blacktail. Like, to me, like, mule deer are cool. You can go glass them up. You can find big bucks. You can't do that with an old blacktail.
Not in coastal regions.
Yeah. I mean, maybe down that California stuff or Southern Oregon, but at least where I live up in, Washington, Western Washington, like,
nope.
You have to get lucky.
Yep.
I mean, there's obviously more to it than that, but
to me, you have to rely on the rut and get lucky
because they don't show themselves.
They won't come out during the daytime.
Nope.
Otherwise, like, I think they tracked blacktail and they were like showing that something like they actually don't move during daylight for like 345 days out of the year. So you're not going to see one.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to see one. And then there's like 14 days where they like actually, these old bucks where they refuse to move during the day.
Yeah.
And then
they don't even move like the last 20 minutes. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And then they get up and it's just,
they do their thing.
The first time I experienced that, I had been tracking this buck for a while and he was in this spot that was where I knew he was there. And you see him on the cameras. I had cameras everywhere. But I only saw him at night. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to blow him out, but I knew he'd come by. In a couple of times I had pictures of him in the prior 2 years where he just, in a 12-day period, he showed up on the camera twice, like once at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. in the afternoon, just randomly, and once at 2 o'clock. So I was like, I just need to be there every day for like in that 12 days and then hope he comes by, But the problem is the longer you're in there, the more you start to stink up that spot, and he just and they kind of just know.
Yeah.
So it's like this. You're trying to match up that day he happens to come by with the day you happen to be there.
Yep.
And it's a lot of years of sitting, a lot of hours, and having nothing happen.
Yep.
So I'm in this stand, and 2 bucks come in chasing a doe, and it's just before dark, and I can see them chasing this doe around and around and through the woods and stuff, and they're fighting each other, and then they'd stop, and they were a nice deer, but not the buck I'd been after. I've been trying to shoot this buck I called Lefty for like 3 years now. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to kill this deer. Well, the sun kept getting darker and darker and darker, and I did not want to blow out that spot. So I'm like, I'm not climbing down. I'm just going to sit here. And then it got dark. It was like 6:30 or 7, 8 o'clock. They're still running around. 9 o'clock. They're still running around. And then right around like 10 PM, the forest just exploded with life. And it was like a full moon. I could see there was like 22 deer.
Wow.
And
just silhouettes.
Just running everywhere. And you could see Lefty just in the moonlight, just running around, just big buck. And that whole forest was alive for like 6 or 7 hours in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, well, this is why. Yeah. This is why they don't come out during the day.
Right.
Because the action, and I didn't know there were that many deer that were out all at once.
Yeah.
And of
That's
course,
a lot of blacktail in the area.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I've talked about this before. I put apples at this little acreage, right? We had 5 acres. My aunt had another 5 nearby, and then there were some neighbors, and then there was some logging property. But I put apples out from like August through November. Mm-hmm. So late August, you got September, October. So they've had a supply of apples there for like 2 months.
Yep.
Now I just carry like a backpack in, a whole, I don't know, 8,500 cubic inches of apples, whatever that is, and dump them, and they'd last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then they'd go. And so I kind of had a routine where I went in just twice a week and dumped them.
Nice.
And the way I did it was I just went to Hood River, which was nearby, to an apple orchard where they throw away all the rotten ones.
Yep.
And I just bought the rotten apples in crates, and I bought like 4 crates of rotting apples. I think they were like $100 per crate, and they just loaded them in my trailer in my truck with a forklift.
I had a guy that used to do it for a pint of whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there you go.
So, and it seemed to me that they really love the rotten ones.
Yeah.
And so, folks, I'm dealing with like a small piece of acreage. You're talking like 5 acres. How am I going to get the deer, all these blacktail that roam all over, to cross onto that little piece? So by providing like a little food source, the big bucks, the old bucks, never ate an apple. They just don't.
I found that they don't touch them until
till late
after they rut.
Yep.
And then they'll hit them for a week, and then they disappear.
Like January, February, I saw them eating. February especially.
Uh-huh.
And then right about the time they're dropping their antlers. But early in that season, they just don't. They're busy doing other things. So, and they'll stop too. Like they'll let the does and the fawns and all those will come in and just hammer the apples. And those bucks will stop like 100 to 200 yards away from the apples and just stage in the tree line, just walk around. But that's why they never showed up on my camera that was over the apples. That's when I started following Mark Kenyon on Wired to Hunt and using all the whitetail tactics. And I started like putting cameras further and further out to see where they were coming in at, and started then figuring out where they like to bed. And the whole thing was such a educational experience, right? But I stayed there that night, and it was an eye opener. It was a huge eye opener, to see and to hear and to watch that many deer just do crazy stuff. And that's when I realized how many deer were there too. Because you see does and fawns, you're like, that's the same doe and fawn.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
They don't have antlers. There's no defining markers, right? And then that's when I realized there was a lot more deer there than I realized. But I had been putting apples out in this area for like 5 years. But that particular year, I had put them out more regularly than ever. And so what I realized there were deer from all over that were finding their way there, eating some apples, and then going back to wherever they go. And they were willing to make that trip because by then a lot of there are apple orchards all around where I lived.
Yeah.
But by then a lot of those apples are gone, or there's just not the supply. So definitely that food source attracted all the does and fawns, which then brought in all the bucks.
Right.
And so that little piece of acreage was great, and I had full control over it, because, and it's funny, like food plots, corn, things like that, those things just didn't quite work on blacktail.
They don't.
I mean, just not, apples just worked.
Yeah.
Apples are just something about it.
They'll eat corn, but they don't go crazy over it.
Yeah.
It's almost like an opportunist type situation. Oh, there's some corn. They might nibble for a bit and then they're gone. But yeah, the apples, I think, especially on a 5 acre piece, like that's where guys kill big bucks.
Yeah.
Apples.
It's kind of in an urban center.
Yeah.
So then we went to a couple other spots that were further out, in areas like we would go up to the mountains, foothills and Mount Hood and so on, and we would find places to hunt migrating bucks.
Yeah.
And then we'd hunt blacktails there too. Totally different tactics. You're not putting any apples out or anything. It's like a big country. You never know what deer might be coming through. It's the rut. There's snow on the ground, and we had some great opportunities at big bucks there, way bigger bucks than down in the valley.
Did you guys ever try to rattle them in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rattled my first buck in the first day I climbed into a stand, and we just found a spot in the map and then drove up there and hang tree stands. And then within climbing the stand, I took my antlers and I'm like, bang, 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 bang. And I hang them in the tree, and this big 3-point buck just jumps up and then stands there looking around like, where's the fight? I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I come to full draw and choked and shot right over his back.
See, I think that's cool. Like if you get some snow and you find a track and you're like, oh, this is a buck, and you follow it till you think I'm close enough, and then you rattle. And it's like, to me, that's like a fun time, that late season for blacktails. That's a fun thing to do.
Yep. And that was the late season in Oregon, where you get the season starts after the 17th.
Okay.
So you can just use your over-the-counter deer tag.
Yeah.
And then November 17th on, it's second season archery.
Okay.
So the first season closes, I think, the end of September.
Gotcha.
And then it reopens.
That's probably pretty similar to Washington too, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to use my tag on a mule deer when I could use it on a blacktail late season during the rut.
Yep.
Just that season just gets extended. So I spent all my time chasing elk in September. A couple times I put some stalks on some mule deer, but my heart wasn't in it, because once you kill a mule deer with that tag, you're done for the year.
Yeah.
But you get to chase blacktails late season if you keep your tag. So.
And some people are complete opposite.
Yeah.
Blacktail, screw those things.
Yeah. I think any species that you spend some time invested in, learning about, becomes...
It's intimate, personal.
Yeah, I grow an appreciation for it. There's few animals where I'm like, at first I think, I don't want to hunt tahr in New Zealand.
Right.
I mean...
Well, the cool thing about that, though, is like, it's not always just about the tahr. It's about where the tahr takes you. To me, like the mule deer hunting, I don't have a preference from a mule deer or a whitetail or a blacktail, but where the mule deer get to take me is far more special to me than where a blacktail sitting in a blackberry jungle. Like, cool, blackberries everywhere. I get to look at the same blackberries that are 10 feet from my face. But I go up in the high country, and it's just like the most beautiful alpine country you've ever seen. And it's miles and miles and miles of it. So I think that's my biggest fascination with mule deer, at least.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too, because you have Project Waypoint.
I do.
It's a project that you're working on. You got Project Waypoint hat on here. And I want to, let's tell folks about that project and what it's all about.
So yeah, Project Waypoint is, at least for me, like the draw of out of state. Everybody has it, like everybody wants to hunt out of state. Everybody wants to go somewhere else. But then it's like, where do I start? You know, what do I do? And for the project, it's just about like, okay, we're going to go to Colorado. We're going to pick a unit. And then when we pick a unit and we draw that tag, we're going to pick a spot on a map and we're just going to go there. There's no like, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm nervous. And then a lot of people have that, you know, the out of state or even in state for that matter, you know, like picking a spot on a map and just doing it. We want a backpack hunt. So we're going to say if it's 3 miles in, it's 3 miles. If it's 10, it's 10. We don't want to, like if our spot's 10 miles in, that's where I want to go. That's where my heart's set on going. I'm not going to stop and hunt at 2 miles or 4 miles or 6. I'm just going to go there and I'm going to start there. And that's my hunt. So picking my waypoints and just doing it how I want to do it. And I think
now you're doing this with Ryan Lampers.
Yep.
And his cousin
yep.
Joey, Joe Pyburn.
Yep.
Who came up with this idea?
It's kind of evolved actually. So we started it out like, hey, you know, we just want to do a YouTube series. Like you see, you know, a lot of guys putting out content and I've got terabytes and terabytes of content, but I never do anything with it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know if it's a selfish thing or if it's a lazy thing of not wanting to sit behind a computer for hours on end, but it's almost like, okay, let's do something and let's show it to people, you know, like let's actually do it. So, our little group, our Hunt Wild group, we talked about it a little bit and they were pretty gung-ho about it. And then I talked to Ryan and I was like, hey, what would you think about doing some filming this year? And he's been wanting to kind of step into that a little bit more and more. It's almost kind of like how people don't know where to start for hunting. I don't think he knew where to start for camera stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like, you're the hunter, I'm the camera guy. Let's mix it up. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And he's the perfect guy. I mean, I'm intrigued by him. And I've gotten to hunt with him even a couple times now, but it's like, guy kills big bucks, big bulls,
big everything.
Yeah.
Big bears. Like I'm going to hunt with Ryan. I've mentioned a couple times, Ryan Lampers and I will go hunt, Colorado over the counter elk. We're just picking a spot on a map.
Yes. That's so beautiful to me.
And two of us are just backpacking in and we're going to chase elk late season and anybody can do it.
Yep.
It's just an over the counter tag. It's a rifle hunt. It's late in the year. But that to me is an adventure that I did it last year. So I did it last year with Ben and Anthony, and part of this, I'm doing a YouTube series right now. I showed it to you last night.
It's
I
awesome.
launched it last night. So the goat film went out last night. It's on YouTube. We're calling it Open Season, and it's just to kick off the season. We got like 5 weeks of film, and I tried to edit. I kind of took, I did the same thing as you. I filmed a lot of hunts and then the footage just sat there.
Yeah.
And then I tried to get around to telling a story, doing some voiceover, you know, just having a message behind each film. But that takes a lot of time and I don't have the resources or the time to do that for every single video, and all the video I capture. And some of it just doesn't need it.
Yeah.
I just want people to come along and go hunt. And like you said, when you have to make a big production out of it, it kind of sits there.
Yeah.
But I started messing around with just this day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 of a hunt. And I just put it up much like Born and Raised did with their Land of the Free project. Yeah. Here's day 1 of my moose hunt with Aaron Snyder. Here's day 2. Here's day 3 and here's day 4. And what you run into often is you're trying to take days and days of video and crunch it into one 15-minute video. Yep. And you have to sacrifice so much good stuff, so much of the story. And then you have to sort of craft a story around it in order to get it to make sense. When you do day 1, it's just like, we got up, we did this, we did that, we came home. Day 1's done. Day 2, it's so quick to edit. Mm-hmm. And I think, to be honest, if I look at this 5 years from now or 10 years from now as I get older, 20 years from now, I want to go through it day by day.
Well, that's where the memories really
selfish
are.
Reasons.
Yeah. I was talking to Trent the other day, and I was texting him. And
From Born and Raised?
From Born and Raised. And I was like, man, I'm getting ready to kick off my 34-day trip. And his reply back was, have fun and all this. Just wake up and tell a story every day. And it was like, that's so simple, right? You know, you go out there and it just becomes complicated in your brain. Like, what do I have to do today? You just got to document it. You don't have to create anything. You just have to wake up and document it. And that's what I've been telling, you know, Ryan and Joe and Eric and Paul and Brandon and the other Ryan. You know, they haven't filmed a lot. And it's just like, if I woke up next to you in a tent and I said, what are we going to do today? And they're going to tell me, we're going to wake up, brush our teeth, eat breakfast, go hunt that ridge, take a nap, go back here, make dinner, go to sleep. Show it. It's that simple. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's easy to just throw the camera off to the side because you're hunting and you want to be in hunt mode. But now that we're doing the series, it's like, just show people. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect and pretty and cinematic and all this. Like, people enjoy the raw and the real just as much as they do enjoy like your tar film. You know, like, that was not a day by day series, but the film, like, that's a lot. And it's just as enjoyable, I think. It's just a different style.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about this open season series, because I'm throwing out the sort of more polished films intermixed with this is day 1, day 2, day 3 type hunts. So next week is kind of day 1, day 2, day 3 kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I showed you some of it. I like I like them both.
I do too.
And for different reasons. Yeah. I find myself enjoying the day 1, day 2 unpolished stuff sometimes a lot more than this whole production film.
Yeah. Well, there's a filmmaker in you that you're trying to be like movie quality. Like that's where, you know, but at the same time, you're still a guy.
Yeah. And what encourages me about all of this, right? Like with Born and Raised, I got to wonder how many people came on the Land of the Free project and developed an appreciation for public lands that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
That want to go chase elk now because they go, okay, I just follow these guys for 50 days. And now I kind of got a feel for how it's done. Like just observing them.
Yep.
Seeing the highs and lows of it, right? Learning.
Yeah.
Through observation, just following them along. And then people's idea about hunting and what it's like, and then the people behind it. And when someone, like, for example, you got Hillary, she runs in these circles of doctors and MDs and, you know, these like highly
smart people,
intellectual individuals, right? And these people probably haven't spent a lot of time in the wilderness. And they have tremendous respect for her because of her field and her knowledge and her dedication to health and wellness and all of that. And so she harbors this respect from these people. And then she goes out and her husband goes out rather and goes out and hunts. And she's been shooting her bow. She competed and trained to hunt.
Yeah.
You know, she's getting involved, and they're like, their image of what a hunter is and what they stand for. They have to pull us out of the stereotype of a heartless human being that just wants to kill animals and cut their heads off and hang them on their wall, right?
I don't even know where that started.
Well, I think we've done it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, I think that there's a portion of the hunting there's a number of hunters who that's what they've done.
Yeah.
They've done a poor job telling their whole story. That's what I'm getting at is when you do it raw and real, like Born and Raised, when you do like your Waypoint project and you come out with these days of film with you and Lampers and this is what we did. This is where we went. And it's over the shoulder. And Hillary's circle of friends and influence sees what her husband is doing and they respect her. They, at some point they go, okay, hunting is deeper than what I see on hunting TV. And recently there was that show that came out. I haven't actually watched it. I watched like 15 minutes of it. My wife was like, really annoyed, what is it? Adventures of a Whitetail Hunter or something like that.
Is it on TV?
It was on Netflix with Josh Brolin. It's a whole Hollywood production. And he has a hunting TV show.
Yeah.
And he goes out and films all this stuff, and it really mocks the hunting TV whole thing and Whitetail Hunter, this Whitetail hunting TV thing. And, you know, he's getting ready to cross this bridge and he's arguing with the cameraman. He's like, okay, you got to cross this bridge first so you can film me crossing it for the first time. And he's like, but I'll be on the other side of the bridge So obviously someone will have crossed it.
Yeah.
And it's rickety, right? It's about to crumble. And he's like, now they won't know. Like, you get over there and film me crossing it for the first time. And it's like, but the camera's on the other side. So it's like on hunting TV where a guy walks up to a deer.
Yeah.
And he's, oh, there it is. And the camera's behind the deer.
Right.
It's like, okay, you already found it. This is obviously like this weird recreate. Like, when these things started hitting TV, it was just the weirdest, like, unrealistic, untruthful storytelling. And then it was always about how big the deer was, and your accomplishment was based on, Boone and Crockett or not. And we just did that to ourselves, dude. Mm-hmm. We did not tell our story.
That is a huge thing about Born and Raised. Like, they're not afraid to shoot spikes, 2 points, 3 points. And I was in Portland with them when they did their show at the Portland Sports Show, and they were there after Land of the Free, and the hundreds and thousands of people that come up to them. And I could hear it, I was eavesdropping a lot, and I really appreciate that you're real, like, you're not afraid to shoot a smaller elk, or you're not counting inches, or, it's so much better, I think, than the guys like the TV guys that they name their bucks, which is fine, but it's like, it's almost fake, it's almost like the next guy has to prove to the next guy that they're better than them. And you don't,
Yeah. Well, I think it is an odd thing, and I don't think it's represented us well. And the whole hunting TV model is weird. It's like, if you have the cash, you can buy the airtime.
Anybody. And a lot of people don't realize
And it doesn't matter how good the show is.
Yeah.
You just paid up front. The network has nothing at risk because you pay to be on it, and you get some weird stuff on there. Anyway, so I think we've done that to ourselves. So now when people like you go out and Born and Raised and the films that I hope people watch and see, they see this real experience, right? And each of these spheres of influence ripple out and change the perception of hunting. And I'm encouraged by it, because there's no longer a gatekeeper to manage the content. Like, I don't have to pay all this money to get onto hunting TV so people can see what I have.
And you can put whatever you want.
I can put it up and I can tell it my way. It's my story. And I can tell, for me, what hunting really is and put it out there. So I think it's powerful stuff. I think it's a great time to be out there. And the more of us that get out and tell our story in the right way, I think.
I did a film a few years back, and it was not hunting. I will say that we pretended to walk through the woods, but it was just more for like visual content. But my whole goal with the film was to, like, I was hoping that hunters would enjoy it because they understood it in a way, but I wanted to show people that don't hunt, like, this is why I hunt.
Right.
Like, there's a feeling out there that I get, or that I get to enjoy in the woods. And I hope that you can appreciate that for me. And if you don't, if you don't agree with hunting, like, I get that. I get why people don't want to kill an animal. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. But we can't lie to ourselves and pretend like the beef at Safeway just magically became packaged up for us. So I was hoping that with that film, like, a lot of your films, you try to hope to show people, like, this is why I do it. It's a beautiful thing, and I enjoy it, and it's legal.
There have been some great videos done like that, like yours, which, what was it called again?
It's called We Are Bow Hunters.
We Are Bow Hunters. And folks, we'll explain where you can get to Jeff's content here when we're done, but I've seen a number of other shows too that this is a pet peeve of mine, right? Like, somebody produces an excellent show about hunting that really showcases what hunting is all about at a deeper level. It talks about conservation, right? And then we air it to ourselves. We put it on hunting TV. And then to get access, you have to have access to hunting TV. You have to proactively go out and watch it on hunting TV, or you have to download the hunting TV app and watch it. nobody that doesn't hunt
cares to watch that.
is going to go actively find that and watch it. The only way that content is getting to the community that needs to watch it is if it's put out on YouTube and all these locations and places that Amazon, where it's accessible to the public. It gets shared through Facebook, Instagram, social media outlets. I feel like all this effort has gone into it just to show it to our own frickin' audience.
Yeah.
And it bothers me because as good as that content is, and some of it's stellar, it's like, great. Now I can't share it with a single non-hunting friend.
Yeah.
Great. Like it's, I find it, and most of that's because it's driven by dollars and sponsors and so forth that require it to be locked down, purchased.
Yep.
No one's going to go out and buy that video.
No. Well, you'll get your close friends or following, but they're already following you.
Or some hunters that want to, feel good about why they hunt and so on. And it's like, and so I get frustrated by that. And I think that the tides are changing. That's
big time.
It's like
YouTube, I think, is just going to blow up over the next 5 years with the born and raised style stuff.
My only concern with YouTube is that they could just shut off hunting any day.
And haven't they done that a little bit already?
They have. Like anything with hunting, guns, bows in it doesn't go through the algorithms and get shared the same way.
Which is a bummer.
And they've killed all the rifle and gun show, stuff. They've restricted all that content. So, I mean, I think I could see YouTube just restricting hunting and killing altogether.
That'd be a bummer.
If they wanted to.
Yeah.
So for me, I have been preparing to build out the library on different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're getting ready to rebuild. Like we have a lot on Vimeo.
Yeah.
Vimeo doesn't do that.
Vimeo just doesn't have the same platform or layout.
No.
Not even close.
No. It's not a search engine like YouTube is. YouTube is a massive search engine.
It's huge.
It plugs in new shows right after you watch that last show, recommends these things. You can comment, interact with the producers of the show. Like it's so scalable and interactive. Vimeo is not like that at all.
Mm-mm.
It's a pay to play. You pay for your membership. You can upload to it. But the thing about Vimeo is I don't see them shutting down any content.
No.
And so because of that, we're just going to build out the library there. And then there's a couple of hunting friendly platforms.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of uploading all the episodes. Like I got something like 380 videos on YouTube.
Good grief.
And so those, if YouTube just says done, all those videos get shut down.
Yeah. So,
I'm just building it out on other platforms. And if we ever get to a point where YouTube does that, I'll just plug in it's already preloaded in there. You just on the website and I can just, upload link to the other platform and then just keep on rolling. I feel like I hope a lot of other content producers do that because, it could just get closed at any time.
Yep.
It's funny, like Amazon seems to be a good source right now. It's encouraging to see like Randy Newberg on there and doing really well. Solo Hunters on there now and different shows. Hitting some mainstream platforms, Netflix.
Yep. I know Meat Eater's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Solo Hunter.
Yeah. And I don't know. So I don't think Solo Hunter is. Meat Eater is. It might be. I don't know. I haven't checked in a while, but I'd like to see more on Netflix. I think the rumor is Meat Eater's about to drop a ton of new episodes on Netflix.
Nice.
And, but see, I would love to see these hunting shows,
everywhere.
Well, like these ones like Project Elk.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that on Matt Zinger's film. I'd love to see that on Netflix, dude.
Yeah.
Like that would be killer.
Well, the cool thing about Netflix too is like you still have to click on it to watch it. So if you don't like hunting, just don't watch it. At least it's there and more people could hopefully see it. I don't know. It'd be cool to see what the next 5-10 years brings for the hunting community as far as, platforms and content. So,
yeah. So tell me this, you're just stopping by on your way to Colorado.
Yep.
This will
be my first tag for a high country mule deer hunt, bow hunt.
And this is the first part of Project Waypoint.
Yeah, other than there was 2 Nevada tags. Ryan's in Nevada right now, and then Eric and Paul were in Nevada last week. So
Ryan's up there solo?
He's up there solo. Yep.
Filming his own hunt?
Yeah, he was going to have somebody go with him, but what he's known for is solo hunting. He's killed a ton of his animals by himself, and he called me. He's like, hey, I mentally have to do this by myself. He's like, I've got all these hunts lined up, with you and Gritty, you and myself and all these other guys. He's like, I have to do something by myself. And I was like, so do it. It's like, people are going to eat that up. I was like, that's your element right there. But then he's going to roll in Colorado with me. So my goal is to go to Colorado and find a buck that's 1 inch bigger than his. And I'll be like, hey, that's yours over there in that draw, and mine's over there. No. Hopefully I can go there and hit some of these spots that we've put on a map, and come opening morning, maybe we've got 3 or 4 deer that we can hunt and put stocks on. So
yeah. Well, where can we follow what's going on?
We just started our Instagram, Project Waypoint. One word. I think
so just at Project Waypoint. I'm looking it up right now.
Yep. I think there's 400 followers is it right now. So, and I think there's 2 pictures. So I wanted it to be new content and content from the actual project. So now that we're into our hunts, we can start doing that. And, hopefully over the next 3 months, we'll be cranking out stuff left and right. So
sweet. I'm on your Instagram story here.
Yeah.
On Project Waypoint. Dude, you only have 2 posts, my friend.
I know.
Get your booty in gear.
Well, that's the thing. I want it to be real. So trying to tell Eric and Paul, like, hey, post some pictures. Give me some pictures. And they don't send me any. Okay. And I'm like, I need some content.
You're going to have to take the horse by the reins here.
I know. Colorado's the deal.
Yeah. I want to see, I know you're probably going to struggle with service at times, but dude, when you have service, man, I want to see every day what's going on.
I'm hoping that we can. Yeah, I think we'll be.
What I need you to do is just shove this thing in Ryan's face and be like, "Where are we at, Ryan? What's going on?" Do the whole thing, man. Just put so much content up that it's
floods everybody.
Yeah, just make noise, man.
Yep.
I want to follow along. So that is Project Waypoint on Instagram.
Yep. And then we're going to do our YouTube series will be on the Stealthy Hunter YouTube page. We'll just do a separate Project Waypoint playlist. Yeah. Which we have not done. And quite frankly, it's still some months out, but I think somewhere around middle of February, we're going to start pumping out. Hopefully every day we'll have something coming out. I'm not sure if we'll do every day or every other day yet.
Yeah.
But the plan is just go 30 to 50 episodes. I mean, we've got a ton of hunts lined up. Elk hunts, mule deer hunts, bear hunts.
So, where is your film?
We Are Bow Hunters.
We Are Bow Hunters.
So if you go to Google and type in We Are Bow Hunters, it's the first thing that pops up.
Okay.
It's on Vimeo.
When are you going to upload it to Stealthy Hunter playlist?
I should, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get it up there.
Absolutely should.
Yeah. If you're going to build that channel, use that content there.
Yeah.
I want to see a link. Put that on the Instagram.
Okay.
Get it uploaded, put it on Instagram, and then be like link in bio for We Are Bow Hunters.
Perfect.
And then let's get some people watching that, and then following along. And right now you have, it looks like 480 followers on that Project Waypoint.
Yeah.
So let's grow that, folks. Go out there and follow Jeff Lusky and Ryan Lampers and Joe and all the guys on this journey that they're about to go out on. Not only are these guys like Ryan especially, like skilled and knowledgeable, and some of the I think the best Western hunters out there.
Yeah, I think so. I think the cool thing about what we have is we do have Ryan and Joe have been doing this for 30 years. They've been killing big bucks for a long time. But then you also have like the complete opposite end of guys that are just getting into backpack hunting. Green. So you get guys that are learning it, guys that have done it for a couple years, and guys that have done it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's like
this mix.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I like watching people struggle.
I think it's real.
It is real. I like watching people struggle. I like watching the growth in people. It's easy to go watch, people that kill monster animals every year. And it's like, cool, another one. Sweet.
Right. Like, how do I haven't been able to connect that dot. Like, there's a gap here between me and that person. I can't really relate to them. I need to watch somebody else.
Yeah. I need to watch Jeff Lusk struggle.
Yeah, that's right.
I need to watch him kill a 130 buck.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's the cool part about it is that it's not just one-sided. It's going to be a little bit of everything.
Yep. And not only that this show is, but it's what's cool about it is you guys are some of the best human beings on the planet.
I like to think so.
You guys are just good people. So seeing this collaboration come together and you guys putting something together, it's awesome. It's great. It's what our community needs. It's the voice for hunting that we need.
Yeah.
So cool, man. And then they can follow you on Instagram personally, right?
Yep.
So
the best page for hunting content would be Hunt Wild. It's hunt__wild.
Okay.
So we put all of our hunting content on there. My personal page is kind of girlfriend and kids and a little bit of hunting.
So if they want to stalk you on Instagram,
they could.
That's what it's for.
It's Jeff Lusky, Lusky.
Yep. And then Ryan Lampers is, like we said, stealthy hunter.
Yep.
If you're not following Ryan, you should.
He has enough followers.
And then Hunt Harvest Health.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yep. Hill does a good job with that. And I think that's this whole new wave of, healthy lifestyle.
Yep.
They have the perfect mix, I think.
For those that don't know, Ryan and Hill are selling their house.
It's sold.
It's sold.
It's sold.
I thought it was.
Yep.
They sold the house in Washington and they are moving to Bozeman, Montana.
Yep.
I'm so excited for them.
I am,
so
and I'm
excited.
not. I'm selfish because he was 2 hours away and now he's.
What's cool for me is he's like 5 or 6 from me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Ryan, dude,
be here by lunch.
Yeah, be here by lunch. Let's podcast. Let's do some stuff.
Yeah.
And then I can cruise up there, hang out with Hillary and him, and freeze dry some food and cook some meals and do some Hunt Harvest Health stuff. So her and I can talk sex and testosterone, which is always good. So yeah, I'm excited about that move. And when I picture Ryan, I don't picture Washington. I picture him in Montana.
I think he fits there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he fits in Bozeman. I think he fits around Bozeman.
He doesn't fit in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think he'd be the first to tell you, I don't want to be in Bozeman.
Yeah.
I just want to be 30 minutes from Bozeman.
Yeah. So, very cool opportunity for them. I'm excited for their future, what they're doing. So, all right, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the Gritty Podcast. I want to make an announcement, let people know that we have the open season YouTube series going on right now. We're giving away a ton of stuff. Like
good stuff.
Yeah, like 5-7 people are going to win like major gear. Every Saturday we're going to make an announcement. If you follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, you're going to see all that. You can win a Hoyt bow if you sign up for our newsletter on briancall.com. And you can win a Garmin InReach and a Kafaru pack. If you go and leave us a review on iTunes, we're going to announce that at the end of the 5 weeks. Pick a winner. We're just going to randomly select and announce winners every Saturday. So
if people aren't using a Garmin InReach already, something's wrong with them.
Dude, it's a game changer.
It is. Even if it's a peace of mind, like you have to have it, I think.
It's so much more affordable than a sat phone.
Yeah.
And honestly, being able to connect to the outside world.
Yeah.
Is just a big deal.
Yeah.
When I'm up there, I like being disconnected, but for safety, I do like to have that thing there.
Yep.
You know, and I don't always want to hit an SOS button. Like sometimes I just want to call a couple of buddies and say, "Look, I need some help."
Yeah.
Without costing me a fortune to have a sat phone.
Well, I know when I'm not hunting and my buddies are.
Yeah.
It bugs me if they're not checking in with me.
Yeah.
I want to know what you're seeing, you know? So,
Yep.
yeah, I think, and the fact that you can connect it to your phone now it's huge. It's easy. They're cheap. I mean,
I know.
relatively speaking, they're cheap.
Have you got the Mini?
I do have the Mini.
How do you like the Mini?
I mean, it's lighter.
Yeah.
All I do is text from it for the most part.
So you use your phone through the Mini.
Yeah.
Completely.
100%.
So that's kind of what I was like, I don't really need the bigger one.
Yeah.
Just because I use my phone for all the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But some of this Yukon hunt I'm on, like I do worry about the phone, like just crapping out because of the rain or something or the battery dying.
That makes sense.
And that inReach is, you can still use the Mini though. It just takes forever to try to type in.
That might be
it doesn't
a good
have the
one
interface
to do like your presets.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, I might not personalize it, but I'm just going to let you know I'm all right.
But what is that weight difference?
Dude, it's small. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously probably less than
it's
half
3
pound.
ounces.
Yeah, it's
Something
tiny
like that.
But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, which one? I do like the Mini just because it is so
I
tiny.
can bring more gummy bears if I bring the Mini.
I love your logic.
Yeah.
Do you like gummy bears or, I'm telling you, those bee stingers, or are they honey stingers?
Honey stingers.
Honey stinger.
Those are good.
Gels.
Caramel waffles.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the little gummies that they make.
Oh, yeah. Those are good.
They're just
the chews.
Yeah, and they're natural compared to like your typical gummy bears, which I don't know what the hell's in some of that.
You know what though? I did that death hike just recently, 100 miles. Well, 93 miles.
Tell people about that because that's fascinating.
So there was 31 of us that started. Steve Speck started this death hike, and it's kind of grown and grown. And then last year it was too easy, so he's like, "We're doing 100 miles, 3 days. We're gonna make people fail." Like people haven't failed yet. So this year he was 100 miles was the goal. Ended up being 93 was kind of the consensus on everybody. But 2.5 days, and I think 10 people dropped out from whether it was injury or just mentally they couldn't do it. So, but I didn't pack anything like comfort food wise. I packed honey stingers and pro bars and all this food that I'm thinking just calorie per ounce. I got to choke it down. Into day one, I was like, I can't even eat my food. Like I woke up the next day and I was just like, I probably went that next was like 28 miles, like 1,000 calories until I got back to camp and we had pizza.
See, I'm getting ready to do a podcast that's coming out in a few days on the food I'm bringing on these backcountry hunts.
Yeah.
Because food is huge.
It is.
And I say this all the time. The first mistake guys make is they bring all this food that's supposed to beat the calorie for the ounce stuff, and then they hate their food.
Yeah, it's hard to eat it.
And that's one thing that'll bring you home so fast is dreaming of pizza and
Jolly
burgers.
Ranchers. Yeah. Somebody did give me a Jolly Rancher on the last day, and I kept it in there for a good 30 minutes. I was like, I'm going to make it all the way, all 20-something miles today on this Jolly Rancher. So, yeah, no, it's fun. But I think if you do hunt hard, after a few days, dude, plain bars suck.
Yeah, so how did you change, now that you're going out right now, what are some of what did you learn from that death hike about food that you're like, how did you change? What are you taking with you right now?
I mean, obviously I have real food, so like I make my own spaghetti and chili and
you freeze dried your own meals.
Yeah, so I dehydrate those up, and I know it tastes good. And on that whole hike, it was like the 16-ounce stove. A lot of people were taking out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because that's real food, you know. But I did pack more gummy bears. Packaroons. I got a bunch of Heather's Choice Packaroons. So I do still have a little bit of that like calorie per ounce food, and you just have to eat it. It's just a chore.
I love Packaroons.
I love Packaroons too. I think they're awesome.
Especially when I'm like, what I notice is with the level of exertion and then lack of sleep and just the excitement and this, of the moment and chasing bulls, I tend to, I tend to lose appetite.
Yeah.
Or I tend to have a difficulty digesting like heavy meals.
Yeah.
So things that are easy to digest and consume, that my body just is bland.
You just have to get it.
Just gets in, but still I like. Packaroons are right up there. It's like I eat them and I feel great.
Yep.
And they taste good.
And there's 180 calories per Packaroon, and they're tiny.
Yep.
So, yeah, but I definitely, I packed some crap food too, just in case. I mean, I'm going to be gone for 34 days. So,
what do you classify as crap food?
Gummy bears. Yeah. I mean, I guess just sugar.
Yeah.
Something, because your body craves sugar, I think, when you're up there.
Dude, I bring, so, I mean, when I need sugar, when I feel the need for sugar, I want sugar.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer. But there'll be days where I hunt where I don't really want sugar. I just don't want it. It's not, but once you can dip into those glycogen stores, the sugar deficit pretty quick. And if you don't have something to replenish it and you've burned out those carbs, man, you start to feel
gets in your head
crappy. So no, I bring sugar for if I need it.
Yeah.
And it's not something, but there are times where it just seems like I have just gone on a glycogen overload and burned all sugar stores out of the system on running up a mountain, getting in place, doing the stuff. And when you run out of stored sugar, you got to put more in there or you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And you certainly aren't going to tap into, sugar energy pathways if you don't have it.
I bring like dehydrated apples and bananas and stuff. And that's usually what I try to take.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got these little packs of gummy bears. There's like 10 of them in it. So it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I like a lot of liquid. I like Pedialyte.
Yeah.
Pedialyte Nun tablets or Noon tablets when I say it. And, usually I mix Ignite and Pedialyte. Gives me a little like caffeine boost and like nitric oxide release, but it also like gives me some of those electrolytes. And I like that when you fill a whole Nalgene bottle, it kind of dilutes the flavor of the Ignite. Mm-hmm. And so when I mix, it's really for about 16 ounces, and then I can mix the Pedialyte. It's like the perfect mixture in my Nalgene.
That's cool.
Of just deliciousness.
I'm going to have to try that.
Pink lemonade,
that sounds good.
And like Pedialyte, like whatever, like mixed berry. And then, dude, it's like, I just savor it.
Then you just go kill an elk. It's that easy.
Totally. And then I'll do like a Nun tablet and maybe an emergency packet. Like I bring lots of different electrolyte mixes for water, and I drink a lot of water. Try to keep my fluids really high. And then fish oil.
Okay.
Fish
for your
oil.
joints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fish oil is, for me, if I take plenty of fish oil, like I don't get inflamed like I do if I go without. So fish oil is a big deal for me.
I'm going to have to try that. I don't usually have joint issues, but I'm getting older, so.
Yeah, it's really just sore muscle tissue. Like, sore muscles will be a problem.
Okay.
So, as I've gotten older, I just found that I don't like I do bring ibuprofen, but I hunted last year. I probably took ibuprofen 4 times out of 3 months of hunting, where I got sore or something was just, my neck was like stuck from sleeping funny. And, but for the most part, if I take fish oil, it takes the place of ibuprofen.
Interesting.
And it's healthy. Also helps keep all the system smooth and running, especially when you're eating all that dehydrated food. It's nice to have something that helps you, take a dump. Yep. Well, Jeff, thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Appreciate you stopping by here in Utah on your way to Colorado. Good luck, my friend.
Thank you.
Hope you kill a great buck in Colorado, and more luck to you through the rest of the season. Yep. Make sure you get lots of lampers. I
will.
I want to see that guy in action.
Lampers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
cool. Thank you.
Thanks, folks, for listening to the podcast. And as always, stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.